Low light hours. Why are they so good? Why does the topwater become so good? Why do they just bite better? Well, we're going to explain that here on the Googan Lab. So in bass fishing, we always think about that early morning bite or that late evening bite when it gets calm and you just picture throwing out your topwater bait and the ripples settle and then boosh, bass comes up and eats it. And there's a few reasons why the fishing is better in these low light hours. And in the summertime, it's so good because it's so hot during the middle of the day. A lot of times bass are they're suspended during the middle of the day. They're kind of slowing down. There's a lower amount of oxygen because the water's hotter during the middle of the day. And then when the low light happens, it gets a little cooler. And bass by nature are crepuscular feeders. Scientific term. Basically what that means is that they are triggered to feed in low light. And it gives them an opportunity to attack prey more effectively because they cannot see the bass coming as easily. The bass know this and they typically feed heavier in those hours. But there's another thing that happens too. It has to do with the shad and the plankton. The plankton, they're feeding on, there's phytoplankton and then zooplankton, and the zooplankton eat those phytoplankton, and that changes throughout the day. The depth of that changes throughout the day because the light penetration is going down to make these phytoplankton grow, and then the zooplankton follow that, and the shad follow that. So you'll oftentimes see the shad rise to the surface in the first 5 feet down in the early and low light hours, and that gives the bass two opportunities. It gives them an opportunity to effectively feed in the shadows and then also attack those shad in a lower, they have basically less water that they have to deal with. So you got those two things going on, and that's what my favorite is, a topwater. I always have a topwater tied on in the low light hours. So when it's midday and hot, that's when I really like to break out the soft plastics. I'll go deeper if it's hot and hit those depths where the bass are trying to hide out and get in that better position where they can feed during the middle of the day. But usually they're just kind of lazy. You got to get it right in front of them. That's one of the reasons I love plastics when the sun is out and it's bright. But in the low light hours, love topwater, but really any type of shad imitating bait is really good. And in that top 10 foot, really 5 foot of the water column, especially if you're seeing those shad rise to the surface. Sometimes I've been on lakes where you see them making a little like nervous water ripple on top of the water, eating those zooplankton that are rising to the top. And I'm gonna throw a spinnerbait. I'm gonna throw a crankbait. I'll throw, a saucy swimmer, something that's imitating those shad, and I'm gonna get away from dangling a worm and going really slow. That's the time where you want to speed up, fish a topwater, fish a moving bait, and really cover some water. Topwater, low light. Gotta love it, baby. Woo! See you, guy. Got a lot of lily pads in front of me. Last hour of the day. Gotta get on a frog. Another thing that happens are bugs. Bugs will start coming out in the evening and they'll stay in the early morning as well. And when the sun gets high, they'll go and hide. But those low light hours, they'll come out, they'll swarm, they'll start buzzing around, they'll land on the water, and you'll hear bluegill starting to eat the bugs at the surface. There's just a lot of things that are feeding up in that top part of the water column in that low light. Give me the team. Oh my gosh. Did you see the airborneness in that fish? Woo! He ain't big, but he went full airborne. He's got it down the hatch, and that is how you like to end the day right there. Some topwater goodness. Low light hours, y'all. Get out there, fish in the morning, fish till dark, get you some goodness. We'll see you on the next one. Like and subscribe.